Justice. And just to look through, when you look at one of the three branches of the government, like we mentioned in the opener of the front bench with our first episode when we had the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, we said with the executive, the legislature and the judiciary, those arms of government directly are supposed to help out the government in one way or the other. And here we are in regards to a system of court which interprets and applies the law and adjudicates legal disputes. Now, with this institution, I should tell you, by the way, is where you will definitely look at how far Uganda's law has come and how far the judicial system has come here in Uganda. So join us here at the front. Just to quickly remind you, the hashtag on X is UBC Frontbench, and you can as well text us or send us a WhatsApp on 0709602592 and be part of this conversation. And also, please be reminded that the judiciary's mandate is highly outlined in Article 126 of the Constitution of Uganda. Now, that said, I do have two guests with me this very evening, and we are privileged, I should say, to have the Chief Justice of the Republic of Uganda together with the Permanent Secretary of the Judiciary, or the Secretary to the Judiciary, joining us at the front this very evening. We're going to be talking matters, achievements, and of course also taking through all those strides that Uganda is taking in regards to enabling you, a citizen of this country, to attain justice. And these are the conversations we are going to be having. So among the conversations that you should be expecting, the law, justice, the courts, judges, name it. So be part of the conversation. Now allow me introduce my guest this evening to you, our dear viewer, here on the front bench. First is the Honorable Chief Justice, Alfonso Owini Dolo. A very good evening, Honorable Justice. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too. Thank you, UBC. Thank you, people in and of Uganda, for this evening.
All right, indeed. And with him, I should tell you, we do have the Secretary to the Judiciary. Many of you would definitely address to him as an author, but I should tell you, Dr. Pius Bigirimana is a man who has done quite a number of things within the civil service. But well, today we talk matters the judiciary. A very good evening, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, viewers.
All right. And there you have it. We're going to be having this conversation that you can also be part of. Get to know what the judiciary does, by the way, and then also get to know the achievements that the judiciary is doing, and also what ways you can easily access justice as a Ugandan. This is the front bench. But first, our symbol of unity.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free for liberty, together we'll always stand. Oh, Uganda, the land of freedom, our love and labor we give, and with neighbors all at our country's call, in peace and friendship we'll live. Oh, Uganda, the land that feeds us by sun and fox our soul grown. For our own dear land, we'll always stand. Kapalapa, Africa's crown. African
Fellow countrymen and women, These are our ministers and permanent secretaries at the front bench, representing the various ministries and answering the questions that matter to us. Join the conversation. This is the front bench.
And here we are for the front bench. Like I did mention, by the way, the opener is that this is our final front bench for this year 2024. Now, New Year's Eve is looming around the corner. I don't know whether you've made your resolutions. I'm just second guessing. You should be able to interpret the law so well in Uganda. That's why we are bringing to you this particular show, so that you get to understand what the judiciary as an institution or as an arm of the government is doing, because there are quite a number of achievements, I should tell you, and we shall go direct into those. But first, we need to get an overview of the state of Uganda's judiciary, with which we shall start with the Honorable Chief Justice of the country. A very good evening once again, Honorable Justice.
Thank you.
Let's look into the state of Uganda's judiciary, an overview of it for the viewer to fully understand.
Thank you. Viewers, I would begin by addressing myself to what the judiciary is, what its functions are, and then come to the state of the judiciary.
Okay.
I think one would be in a better position to understand the question you've just posed if I begin that way.
Yes.
The judiciary, not only in Uganda, in any democratic dispensation, is one of the three arms or branches of government. Many times I hear people say, I see people write, that the judiciary is the third arm of government. That's not true. It's not number 3, it's not number 1, not number 2. It stands in parity, in equal arms with the other 2 arms of government. It complements the other arms, that is the executive, parliament, in the governance of the state. So its responsibility, its adjudication of conflicts between parties, between private persons, and then between private persons and the state. Its responsibility is to interpret the Constitution. And it is on the basis of laws that human society survive. That's why there's a distinction between jungle law and civilized animals laws, that is human laws. So the judiciary's function is to arbitrate, to make a decision on who's right and who's wrong. In doing this, it is performing its role as one of the 3 stones, one of the 3 pillars on which the state rests. You are probably, some of you who have grown up in rural areas, many of you might have grown up in the urban areas, so you do not know when I say the tripod, the cooking tripod. 3 stones are put at equidistance, they make a triangle. Whichever way you see it from, the same sides of the triangle. You put a pot on it, they will hold the pot. You remove one, the pot will collapse. You put a smaller one alongside 2 big ones, the pot would tilt. So if the judiciary is weak, or parliament is weak, the executive is weak, the country either collapses or becomes a failed state, or there will be turbulence. Similarly, a weak judiciary would promote turbulence, would promote political, socio-economic turbulence and instability in the country. That's the importance of the judiciary. And this is not peculiar to Uganda. It is everywhere. Yes, worldwide. Except, and let me also add, the judiciary is so important, even in dictatorships, which you read about in the past. We had one in Uganda from 1971 to 1979. There was no parliament, but there was the executive. There was the judiciary. when God created mankind, he made laws, and he was the judge. There was no parliament for, he acted by decree, if you can allow me to say. Okay. Yes, there was no parliament, but there were laws, and he was the executive. And that's how he tried Adam and Eve, the trial in the Garden of Eden, and then he passed judgments. Then when you follow the Bible, when Moses moved with the Israelites from Egypt, the first important thing he did in the desert, in the Sinai desert, was the laws which God gave him, followed by the smaller laws now which they came up with. And then there were judges. There were judges to implement, to see to it that those laws were followed. When they arrived in Israel, it was the people who were both the executive were the judges. That's why you have a whole book from Joshua, the judges. There was no parliament. But there was the rule of law to be enforced, and they were the judges to interpret the law. It was much later then when people began making noise, they wanted a king, then you know from your Bible. Much later, so the executive, in the formal sense, came later. The law and the judges came before that. So the judiciary in any country is very important. And any democratic dispensation must focus on having a strong, dependable, effective judiciary. If you have that, you lessen all these other things I've spoken about. So by way of introduction, I thought I should say this. Okay. So what's the state of the judiciary today? I took up office in the year 2020, and a lot had been done by my predecessors, people of great respect, people on whose shoulders I stood when I took up office. But then the challenges of the day required new approaches, innovations, so that we could meet those challenges. That has been the hallmark of my administration, which we will talk about maybe at length. Okay. So the state of the judiciary is that it is a different judiciary from the one I took over. Okay. Yes.
And well, of course, as we now turn our focus onto the office of the Secretary to the Judiciary, I wish to also know and understand his duties, because as the Chief Justice has given us an overview from the start, introducing us to the institution or introducing us to the arm of government or a branch of government, like the terms he has used. I wonder, though, what the role of the Secretary to the Judiciary is, before we even dive into the achievements of the same office. Good evening once again, Doctor.
Good evening, viewers. I have got 3 responsibilities. The first one is being a permanent secretary. I'm a permanent secretary by appointment. Okay. And this is under Article 174 of the Constitution. I am secretary to the Judiciary in accordance with the Administration of Judiciary Act. That is Section 17. Then I'm an accounting officer, okay, also under the Public Finance and Management Act, Section 45. Okay. Now, all of those are responsibilities that I have, and I'm supposed to make sure that the office of the Secretary of Judiciary is functioning very well, to support the Chief Justice and the entire judiciary to manage their business. As I told you, the mandate, the principal mandate of judiciary is adjudication. So the principal mandate of the Secretary of Judiciary is to support the judges and the judicial officer to adjudicate.
Okay. And in my observation as we came in here, is that there has been so many changes around this place. And I did mention in the introduction that this is a state of the art facility building. And please do note, our dear viewer, that in this same vicinity, we have the Twin Towers, which the Secretary to the Judiciary will tell us more about. But then the same vicinity has the Supreme Court, the High Court, and the Court of Appeal. So we need to get into how we reached to this state. And Dr. Pius, take us through that journey.
This journey of having these twin towers has been a journey which is supported by teamwork. The Chief Justice told you that when he took over office, he has been engaged in transforming the way Judiciary does its work. I also, when I came in here, I found that actually these twin towers, the bills of quantities had been put in place. I cannot claim that I'm the one who developed the terms of reference. I'm not the one who developed the specifications. But I found the papers on the shelf. At that time, the Chief Justice was Deputy Chief Justice. But he participated in the groundbreaking. And after groundbreaking, the following year, he took over. So the groundbreaking was done. The construction started in May. The real construction started in May 2020, when he was now the Chief Justice. Now, the success of this project, as I told you, was dependent on a number of factors. First of all, there are 4 stages in procurement. The first stage is what you call scoping. What is it that you want to do? You have to be sure of what you want to do. If it is a consultancy, the terms of reference must be developed. If it is purchasing equipment or goods, you have to have clear specifications. If it is construction like this, you have to have bills of quantities. So project documentation is extremely very important. And to make sure that you now go into the second stage, what we call sourcing. Sourcing is advertising, calling for bidders. And this is what we did. When I came in here, we called for bids, and the successful bidder was Sayani. And how did we become successful? We were very strict from the beginning that if anybody gets involved into malpractice, into corrupt tendencies, that one will be our legitimate target. The Chief Justice was very clear and gave me instructions. He said, if I hear of anything, then there will be trouble. And of course, I was also convinced that what he was telling me is correct. So we went into the procurement, we got the contractor in place and started on time. We didn't have enough money. And I think before the procurement, there were worries that the money was not going to be found. And for me, I said, no, it's not a question of money. It's actually a question of attitude and management. The follow-up was not in the bills of quantities. The gym, the steam, the sauna, the massage were not in the bills of quantities. But we added them there. And that is what made people get worried. But our estimation is this amount. How can you have all of those contained? And I was very clear. I made sure that the supervision, the monitoring, I was here almost every other day with the project manager. So from the beginning, the procurement was not compromised. Even there were no administrative reviews, which are common with the other project. So we built these twin towers in record time, and we finished earlier than expected. It was supposed to take 4 years, but we finished in 3 years and 11 months. And the quality you can see for yourselves, and the money that we spent on this one is 115 billion shillings, meaning that this is around 57 billion.5, the other one 57.5 billion. And these are 10 floors. You have got down 2 parking floors, which can accommodate 226 vehicles. The square meter for the entire buildings is 31,058 square meters. At the time of projection, each square meter was supposed to be $1,048 per square meter. But by the time we finished, it was $975 per square meter. What is the magic? The magic of actually going down instead of going up.
How
So,
do you reach that? Because
if you look at the, I'll tell you why we reached that. If you look at the amount of money that we had projected, subtract the amount of money that was spent at the end, you get the difference. You multiply by the square meters. We managed to save 8.5 billion shillings. How did we do it? We made sure that there were no variations.
okay.
We made sure that we monitored. We made sure that the quality was not compromised. Many times projects fail because of lack of monitoring. And then the variations which come up, maybe through the connivance of the project managers and the contractor. But at the end of the day, you find that people have gone even to finance for more money. We never went to finance for any money. Actually, the contingency fund, which was 12 billion, which had been put in case there were things that had been ignored, we used it to pay for the 2 floors, the conference hall, the internal design, the steam, all those were contained in the 12 billion. But at the same time, we managed to save 8.5 billion. So really, the message out here is that you have to do the proper procurement, avoid corruption, because that's where eventually people start even going for administrative review, because maybe you have favored somebody and the other one comes to know, then the projects don't start. 2, avoid variations. And you can avoid variations by making sure that the materials that are being used are the same that have been put in the bills of quantities. 3, ensure that you monitor on the yearly basis the project.
Okay, and one of the other issues at hand, and I'll take this particular one to the Honorable Chief Justice. The issue of corruption is one that arises most everywhere, not only in the judiciary, but in every government institution. And many of you would still be having the same case, the same concerns that you wish the judiciary to speak to. Now, many a times when the IGG report releases the list of the most corrupt entities, everyone wants to see which is the most corrupt. And at times, police is holding as the flag bearer in that regard. But of course, that is courtesy of the IGG's report. Now, that mentioned, I wonder though, from the side of the judiciary, how do they ensure that these cases do not continue to rise within the government institutions, but so to say, the judiciary itself? Honorable Chief Justice, from your side of things and from how the judiciary handles corruption within the arm, and how do you intend to make sure that we clearly get rid of corruption cases or scandals, or prevent the rise of these cases?
When you speak of corruption in the judiciary, I think you would you'd be failing in the pursuit if you do not understand, if you do not address the issue of corruption as a cancer today in this country. We used to read books, storybooks, and other books, other writings about corruption in a certain African country. I'm not at liberty to mention it, but you know whom I'm talking about. And we would say, you mean this type of thing human beings can do? Now your generation has seen it in this country. We never saw it before in this country. If they were there, they did not come out in the public domain. Today in this country, not a single day passes when you do not hear about corrupt practices, about corruption in this or that institution, governmental institutions. Not a day can pass if we are to be honest with ourselves. We've come to a point where our own people now glorify corrupt people. If you're corrupt and you make some token spillover of your corrupt earnings to the people, people will glorify you as a good person. People even get elected to parliament because they are the ones who give what they've earned through corruption. Even when you know, but there's no clear-cut job this person is doing. We don't know of any business. But the person is visibly, ostensibly, a rich person. So people now, it's a very worrying trend. So when you talk about corruption in the judiciary, in any institution of government, I want you to know that you speak this against the backdrop of a breakdown, decadence in our morals as Ugandans. What about the judiciary? You will always hear about corruption in the judiciary. There must be corruption in the judiciary. Because, I mean, something cannot persist like this and all of it is not true. Some of them are perception. Some of them are just failure to understand how the judiciary works. But indeed, there is corruption in the judiciary. And I've spoken about this. I reiterate it here now that there is corruption in the judiciary. Where is the biggest problem in fighting corruption? So that there would be deterrence. You will come to me tomorrow. Do you know Magistrate X in this station is very corrupt? I say, is that so? So, oh, yes. He's done this, he's done that. So you have the clear proof. I found people speaking. Or once in a while, he did this to me. I say, God, you're so good. Mr. Sonko has come to me, that magistrate so-and-so did this. So I say, can you put it down in writing? Either you'll put it down in writing and say, I don't want to be known as the person who brought the report. Or you don't even go that length. The majority say, you know the in Uganda. Eh? I don't want to be known as the person who has brought this information. There is no way I can call Magistrate X and crucify Magistrate X. Yes, I can call him or her and say, listen, people are talking. My Lord, I don't know what people want with me. That would be the response, almost invariably. Because I don't have something concrete in my hand, which I can wave and say, look, this is the evidence. So until the people of Uganda rise up to fight corruption, corruption is going to become our culture. Corruption is going to be part of our identity. Very unfortunate. I grew up not knowing this type of corruption. Actually, to hear that somebody, a civil servant, has been found corrupt, you know, even the family would walk with their heads bowed down. Not today. You even know that ex-children are going to the best schools in this country because the father has been corrupt. You know this.
And we are praising.
You're praising. So until we stop glorifying corruption, what I'm going to tell you on what we are doing to fight corruption is not sufficient. It will not go far. We must act in concert. We must say, look, if somebody is going to harm me because I've stood up against this evil practice, let it be so. And you come up and say, yes, this is what you did. I have this recording. Some people have recordings. They even come and play to you. So please give me. Say,
Honorable Chief Justice, there is also
Yes.
this bit of things that
Yes.
some of those who have evidence against the corrupt are scared, and others are seeking for security. And like you've alluded to, at times someone doesn't want to be revealed as the source of the evidence because he's scared of something. How do we protect them? Is there a way that other institutions can help can give help to the judiciary to safeguard the whistleblowers?
There are rules about protection of witnesses, protection of whistleblowers, and that type of thing. But I wish that people were prepared to do this and say, look, on condition that you guarantee my protection, I will do that. If not, but it won't do when you tell them, no, you'll be protected. Yeah. So that's a big problem. But I haven't answered the question, or maybe the second leg. You're saying, what are we doing in the judiciary?
Yes, we're coming back after the break.
Okay.
Can you answer to that?
Okay.
After the break, when we do return, the Chief Justice responds to what they're doing as the judiciary to put an end to corruption cases or to corruption within the arm of government. But then also, from the Permanent Secretary's side, we need to fully understand. There's something to do with making a court accessible to you, because digitalization is taking over, and there are efforts by the judiciary to ensure that there is no physical movement all the time for you to have your case settled. So that and more is what we're going to be having in our conversation. Stick around. This is The Front Bench.
This is The Front Bench. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda. This is The Front Bench.
All right, we'll be back from the break, and this is The Front Bench. The hashtag on X is UBC Front Bench. The number, WhatsApp and SMS is 0709602592. And well, here we address concerns and we engage the leaders. We engage the leaders and address the concerns, right word to use. And I did mention, by the way, that this time around we brought the front bench to the real bench. And in a room like this one, at times, you would not love to be in such a situation. Especially, there is a special docket where you wouldn't love to be in, as the judges are questioning. And if you do not have your defense attorneys, and they're up to the game, then you're likely to face the bar. And it does not seem to be a good kind of view for anyone, or a good experience. But nonetheless, the judiciary is here to ensure that in case of anything, you can access justice, because at times you may be behind the bars when you are not guilty as charged. And those are some of the conversations we are having here. But before that, we were talking matters corruption. And please do note, this very year of 2024, we saw quite a number of our own leaders that we voted into power to represent us in various constituencies, facing corruption charges. And like the Chief Justice alluded to, at times we know these people, but then we are praising them. So it does look like ending corruption will definitely have to start with us before we even invite those behind the law. But that mentioned, we continue with our conversation of corruption, but also trying to see what efforts is the judiciary doing to address this big elephant in the room. Honorable Chief Justice.
Thank you again. I told you the problem of corruption, what happens in this country, what I believe also happens in the judiciary. With the judiciary, you only need one corrupt judicial officer, and people say the judiciary. In my vernacular, which I'll translate into English, you say you need only one frog to spoil the water point. Just one frog will spoil the water point. You don't need 100 frogs. So why is it so? Because justice, what is justice? It is the ultimate, it is what everybody seeks. Everyone wants to live peacefully, in harmony with everyone, happy, at peace with the world. So if there is grievance, you go to the institution that dispenses justice, the one that gives you that which you've lost, the one that stops the other person from doing or continuing to do that which disrupts your peace. And that is like the air we breathe. The air we breathe, if you tag a price to the air we breathe, you'll see what injustice means. That's why God has given it to us. We don't realize it is even there. I have to block your nose for you to realize how important oxygen is. Yes. Similarly, justice should be the type of thing, you know it is there. I mean, you are living peacefully because there is justice. You're living peacefully because the people in governance, the people who you are assigned to represent you in parliament are doing the right thing. And then the judicial officers, you know, you fear to be taken to court because you know the consequences. Then you'll know that there is justice, so that you only realize the importance of justice if justice fails. So now in the judiciary, what have we done within the mandate? Because judicial power belongs to the people. We are just agents. We have been given, we are emissaries. We have just been given this power to do it on your behalf. It is not our power. So what has the judiciary done? We recognize that this outcry about corruption, there must be some truth in it. I already told you where our problem is, that people withdraw, people shy away from confronting the bull by the horns. That notwithstanding, we've come up with measures. Many of them were there before, but we have strengthened them in the face of what we hear. We begin with the training, because we are not responsible for recruiting judicial officers. It used to be under the Chief Justice, but not anymore. The Judicial Service Commission is now headed by a person who is not, it is not part of the judiciary. The moment judicial officers are recruited, we swear them. I speak to them about the danger of corruption, the danger of behaving unethically. We subject them, before we deploy them, we subject to training. Unfortunately, we have capacity to do that for 2 weeks only. Our sister country, Tanzania, for the magisterial group, training of 3 months. You are trained to understand what it means to be a judicial officer, the ethics, and then how to apply the law, what you must and what you must not do, the do's and don'ts. And then you're deployed to render justice. Then when you are deployed, or when you're now serving, we make sure there is a follow-up of your activities, how you do your work. We have an inspectorate headed by a chief inspector of courts, and he's a Supreme Court judge. That is the importance. The chief inspector is at the level, is a serving Supreme Court judge. Then we have within the inspectorate other officials. Their duty is to carry out inspections in all courts in this country, to find out how they're operating. When they hear a complaint here in Kalangala, they'll jump on the ferry and go there to establish. When they hear whatever it is, they must be there. Initially, they were in Kampala here. Now we have created regional inspectorate officials so that they are on the ground. And not only that, all chief magistrates are inspectors as well. They're in charge of grade 1 magistrates under their charge, under their magisterial area. They feed into the inspectorate, they feed into report to the registrar in charge of magistrates, report to the chief registrar, report to the principal judge who is in charge of the High Court and Magistrates Courts. So these linkages. And then the resident judge of the circuit of an area is also an inspector. What does this mean? It means when you are a judicial officer in Chegegwa, all these people breathing on your neck, you can feel them breathing on your neck. That if I play around, so many eyes are seeing me. Okay. Then, when they carry out this investigation, if they find something is wrong, we have a committee called the Disciplinary Committee of the Judiciary. They'll report, this committee will investigate. If need be, there'll be a hearing where you're summoned, you're charged, you defend yourself. If they find there is a case which we cannot sort it out in the judiciary, reference is made to the Judicial Service Commission to try you and penalize you. So we have this in place to fight corruption. We very robust. Before it was not like this, but now it is really, really robust. He has put funds for this. The PSC has put funds for this. That's how we are fighting corruption. And then we have trainings, periodic trainings. We talk about this, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Thank
and
you.
Dr. Pius, let's get into the bit of the projects here. It is a very huge achievement. And one may wonder...
Let me say something then.
Oh, okay.
For corruption to thrive, apart from the failure to bring evidence, which I've talked about, heads of institutions are not doing their work, then corruption will thrive. That's why we're giving you the example of these Twin Towers.
Yes.
I was never there. I think I came here only in so many years. I came here only 3 times. But he was here virtually daily. Because mine was very clear as head of the judiciary. I said, this is the judiciary, where all wrongdoers are brought for us to pronounce ourselves on and punish. If I hear any case of corruption, any case of whosoever is involved will go to jail. Those were my words. And for him, he implemented, he went and told this for the same what the Chief Justice says, anybody who is interested in visiting jail should. And he followed up, and this is the point I want to make. It's just not word of mouth. I didn't have the time to come here, but he followed up, and people knew we mean business. And that's why we were able to report to you the wonders we did with regard to using public funds.
Okay, and
yes.
Dr. Pius, let's use this project as just a specimen. Looking back at how far it has come to having this kind of huge achievement for not only Uganda but Africa, one may wonder, how did you manage to ensure that there is accountability of every bit? Because we lack that in many institutions.
You see, leadership is not a popularity contest. What do I mean? If there is work to be done, you have to do it. And you must walk the talk. You must make it unattractive. And this is what we did. You know, when you are in charge, in my place where I come from, they say, when you go to steal, when you are carrying a baby
Yes.
on the back, certainly that child will also become a thief.
Will have to be a worse thief than you, because it has learned from childhood.
So, if you are in charge of a project of this nature, and you are the one who is asking the project manager to negotiate and get some money, you will have no legitimacy, no moral authority to reprimand that person. That's what we did. And everybody who was involved into this project knew that it was a very, very big risk to take any bribe from the contractor. And the contractor also came to know that if he did that, he does get involved into the mischief, his contract would be terminated. And that's why I told you, there were no variations. In many projects you see, other times you find that the money which has been given to the institution is finished before work is seen. And then the variation comes in. Then the variations are approved by the project manager. Then the project manager submits to the accounting officer. Then the accounting officer approves. Because in that chain, everybody knows has got a cut. And that's how you end up eating cement which is supposed to be going on the project. So, in my view, we are responsible for what takes place. Okay, you can have some people very mischievous, but if they run from you, that you cannot tolerate it, they will certainly not do it, because they know the consequences of by the way, you asked about being an accounting officer. Being an accounting officer is that you are responsible for all the resources that come to the institution. And this in accordance with Article 164 of the Constitution. You are accountable to Parliament, which appropriates funds. These funds come to the institution to help you manage human resource, to help you do construction of this nature, help you procure transport equipment, help you buy equipment, by pay salaries, all of these. That is consistent with Section 45 of the Public Finance Management Act. Let me tell you, as the Chief Justice has said, those of us who are in leadership position are partly responsible for the mess that you see in institutions. Because when you are tough, when you are there and you are cracking the whip, there's nobody who is not going to, even here in the judiciary here.
Meaning those who sleep on the job.
Yes, yeah. You know, people people seeking in installments. You know, you are supposed to be on duty, but you are wasting time doing business outside instead of concentrating on your work. You see, I have got bad foot because I got a tendon rupture. But that did not stop me from coming to work. The Chief Justice is here, I can tell you.
Yes.
I used to come on crutches in this building to see what is happening. And that reassured the project manager that I will be around to see what is happening.
And you know malicious acts are going to happen. But now let's talk about the issue of automation of courts. The generation that we are in today is a generation that has turned digital, meaning every government institution, and when you also look at Uganda's digital, the Digital Uganda Vision for 2040, the aim is to ensure that digital transformation is where all government institutions are heading to. How far has the judiciary integrated that into its works today?
There are three areas that we have embarked on. One is to do with the electronic court case management information system. By the way, the Chief Justice forgot to tell you that one of the ways to fight corruption is this ECMIS, because you reduce human-to-human contact, and that has been a very ripe area for corruption. So by introducing electronic court case management information system, we are doing two things. One, we are making it easier for people to register cases, because in real time, this is a system that automates the process from the time of registering to the time the case is handled and disposed of. Now, in the process, you don't get in touch with physical human beings. It's online. At the comfort of your sitting room, at the comfort of your bedroom, even when you're flying and there is Wi-Fi in the aeroplane, you can fix. Even if it is midnight, you get it. And then payment is online. Now, it has helped us because many cases now are being fixed. Two, revenue collection. There was business between the person who is registering and the person who is receiving the file. Kitu kidogo. If you give me something, I will do this. But now we have shortcutted that one. You fix online. Then the revenue collection under non-tax revenue. The non-tax revenue has doubled from 5 billion to 10 billion. We have now gone to around 15 courts. But we shall roll the whole country, depending on the availability of funds, internet, and so on and so forth. Now, the second one is to do with the video conferencing. This has also changed life in the court operations. You've got a prisoner in Ruzira, and you have got the judges in court here, and they are hearing cases. It has done three things. One, reduce on the time it takes to prisoners to court. Two, it has also reduced the risks involved in bringing the prisoners to court. You remember some time when the road was troubling and overturned, some prisoners died. But three, it reduces also on the expenditure of prisoners bringing these people from court to here. So this automation is helping us so much, and also digitization, transcription. Now it is easier for a judicial officer to sit and watch the suspect. Instead of every minute he's writing, the machine is now to be used for transcribing. So automation is the way to go. There is no retreat, there is no surrender. The viewers must know that this is the way to go.
Okay. And let me head to the Honorable Chief Justice. Honorable, let's look into the issue of the case backlogs here. And many people kind of find it difficult at times to get judgment in the time they expect it to come because of, at times the delayed judgments. And of course, this increases the number of cases that the judges have to handle. How are we going to address this, or how is the judiciary addressing this issue?
First of all, the fact that any case should be backlogged is unfortunate. We regret it. We wish we could hear a case today, deliver judgment tomorrow. Hear an application today, the morning, deliver a ruling in the afternoon. That would be ideal. That's why people come to us. Unfortunately, we cannot. And case backlog is not peculiar to Uganda. In some countries, if they tell you the case backlog in India, you think, no, this is a joke. The volume. So, case backlog is an elephant in the room in every jurisdiction the world over. But there are ways it can be dealt with. But let me also say, the reason for case backlog in trial courts differ from the reasons of case backlog in appellate courts. But at the end of the day, for any reduction, meaningful reduction to be made on this issue of case backlog, it is the numbers of judicial officers. In Uganda, if a case has stayed in court for 24 months, then it is a case backlog. It has delayed. 2 years, you say, the case has delayed. That's what backlog means, really. I met my colleague, the Chief Justice of Namibia. For him, case backlog is 6 months. If a case has, from filing, 6 months, it is now backlog. I said, how have you done it? Then I realized Namibia is 2 million people. It has about 25 judges of the High Court, just High Court, for 2 million people, 25.
Here we are close to 47 million.
Yeah, but we're about 90 High Court judges for 47 million people. And then the magistrates in Namibia are over 100. The Court of Appeal there is about 10 or there, but I can't remember the figures now. So he is able to afford the rule. If the case takes before you 1 day, more than 6 months, you must write to the Chief Justice and explain. I wish I could do it here. But I cannot do it with what I've just told you. 47 million people determines the volume of cases that come to this court. And 90 judicial High Court judges, 100 and something magistrates or chief magistrates, and they can only do so much. 2, and you just walk, we can walk with you up to any trial court. We can go to Buganda Road, we can go to Mengo, now. We can go to High Court judge, now. You'll find files from here up to the ceiling. So judicial officers are now being stampeded. You look at the files and you sit from Monday to Friday hearing cases. These fellows do not have weekends, by the way, because you have to write a judgment. You have to take off time. And there is a toll on them. By the time you retire, either this side, now that there is automation, it is better. Those days when judicial officers were stenographers, you're listening to evidence. You retire when your shoulders is, and you walk like this. I've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. So they can only do so much. So we must. I always hear people crying for constituencies. I wish instead of asking for a constituency, you just ask for 2 judicial officers. Because it is possible in this country to actually say 6 months cases must be out of the trial court, then appellate court, this period, final court, Supreme Court, this period. It is possible. Now, what interventions have we made? The automations, which are spoken about, to expedite things. Now you sit, swing in your chair, you concentrate. If something, you find something interesting, you note down. Then they'll transcribe the record for you. You have it piled. You remember the Kampala bombing case? Yes. I was the trial judge. The proceedings, the type proceedings, were 10 box files back to back. Each page was back to back. If it was one page, one side of the page only, there were going to be 20 box files. Not these small things, box files, and they're really compressed. They're there. I mean, you can ask him, they'll take you to where the files are. You see, they're still there. Imagine that I was writing. The trial took 2 years. It would have taken 5 years, if not more, because the judge would break down along the way. And then, that is the equivalent of, it's equivalent to about 30 or thereabout, or even 40 cases, that volume of material. And you have to go through it. You have to internalize, evaluate the evidence, apply the law, not just one aspect of the law, various aspects of the law. You do your research. The lawyers have given their opinion, interpreted authorities. If you go by them, you'll make a mistake many times. So you have to give your own appreciation. Okay. So but please, let me finish on this, because it's important. But now with the automation, and that one was automated. We took more than 1 year with automation. But with automation, it's a game changer. What else have we done? In the criminal justice system, we found there are many people who could actually say, look, I am guilty, I know I did it, and instead of just staying there 2 years waiting, a few months, they get penalized, serve the sentence, and go home. Through the plea bargain. We introduced the plea bargain. And because of that, we have reversed the situation where there used to be more remand prisoners than convicted prisoners. Now it is the other way. The convicted prisoners are more than remand. So there is less congestion because they are distributed to field prisons where they can finish their... So plea bargain in the criminal justice system. Amazing. Then in the civil justice system, there's what we call small claims, cases of 10 million shillings and below. Where do you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers? You bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time. That manner, the cases that are finished are now away from the pile of backlog. And then what is the in thing now, which I'll speak about slightly for some time? Alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. The alternative dispute resolution mechanisms is the greatest innovation that we are making in the judiciary of Uganda. It's a game changer. When it roots itself, you'll see. I can tell you, the United States of America is the largest economy in the world. This you know. By far, China is nowhere near it as we speak now. One of the contributing factors to this growth in the economy is how effective the judiciary is. And you know why the judiciary is effective? It is because it handles only 2% of the cases that would otherwise have come to court. The rest of the cases are done through ADR outside of the judiciary. 98% of all disputes in the United States of America is handled through negotiations, through conciliation, through mediation, through arbitration, which are faster and cheaper. And that's why they have backlog, but nothing like what we have now. So this is what we are pursuing in this country. When it roots itself, we will not be talking about backlog the way we are talking now. Finally, and I want you to be patient with me because I have to speak about the appellate courts. The appellate courts sit as a composite body. In the Court of Appeal, for civil and criminal cases, they set 3 judicial officers to hear an appeal from one person in the High Court. For constitutional matters, 5 people. In the Supreme Court, we set 5 judicial officers for appeal on civil and criminal matters from the Court of Appeal. And then 7 judicial officers on an appeal from the Constitutional Court. All these people will sit, they have to make a determination of the case. You only need something to happen to one of them. And then until you can replace that person, you are in limbo. Now take a situation. 2 justices retire when you've just finished hearing or before you've completed. You have to reconstitute. Take a situation where you have justices, you have a matter where the justices are available, but they have had the matter one way or the other in the lower court. You may not be able to make a quorum. A quorum is the composition of the panel of the court, and so on and so forth. So the complication is not the same like this, what you hear in the trial courts. But as I said, nobody wants any case to delay, because justice delayed is justice denied. Any person who has gone to law school knows that. Even you who never went to law school, you know this. Justice, I mean, it is common sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as we're summing up, we're running out of time this evening. Let me head to the Permanent Secretary and Secretary to the Judiciary, Dr. Pius Bigirimana. In your parting shots, Doctor, I want you to give the viewer an outlook of what 2025 looks like from the judiciary's perspective, and then your message of New Year's to our viewers.
Judiciary will continue with the programs which have been put in place. I've told you about ECMIS. ECMIS will continue. We shall roll out so that people can file their cases. I am an accounting officer, and depending on the resources that are given to me by Parliament, we shall continue to finance these projects that we have started. By the way, I should have told you that apart from the Twin Towers here, we have been constructing courts up country. Mukono, for example, High Court is finished. We are finishing Rukunjiri. We have finished Jantonde. We finished Sembabure. There are many cases we have finished. So we shall continue to construct. God willing, we might also start construction of Guru Court of Appeal and Mbarara Court of Appeal, so that these courts of appeal can handle cases coming from those regions Of course, our target is to see that many other regions get these courts of appeal. Now, we shall continue to make sure that our judicial officers do their work, to support them with transport, support them with the allowances for them to do their work. So really, it's a continuation, and we shall continue to think out of the box to see how we can do our work better than we are doing it. After all, that's why we are here. The message to the public, Ugandans, as we start the new year, I want to request everybody to be law-abiding. I want everybody to make sure that we contribute to production. The President has been talking about production for consumption, but also production for the market, using the PDM model. I want to appeal to the general public to take his advice very seriously and be law-abiding. Thank you.
All right. And I'll head to the Honorable Chief Justice. Your parting shots and message.
Thank you. Of course, I wish every one of us, each individual, each family, a happy and successful new year. Let us rededicate ourselves. This is our country. We don't have any other country we call home. You can live pleasantly, happily, anywhere outside Uganda. But you won't enjoy the authority of being a citizen, a natural citizen of this country, the way you would enjoy in Uganda. Let us, individually and collectively, work hard for this country. In whichever role you find yourself, whatever you do, let's work for this country. It is our country. Two, with regard to the judiciary, we have now introduced and building an alternative dispute resolution regime, where instead of having a land dispute take 7 years and the land is unusable, we're now giving you the opportunity to sit down, somebody mediates, somebody enables negotiations, somebody conciliates, or if need be, arbitrates, so that this dispute is resolved in months at most. And that will make our economy tick. And there will be harmony. We will train mediators from every community, from every area in Uganda. There are people out there, religious leaders, cultural leaders, eminent persons, people whom people respect, know that they're going to be fair, to help you resolve. So that only few of these cases, instead of 90% of the disputes in an area coming to court, I want only 10 to come to court and 90% to be resolved amicably. It can be done. It has been done elsewhere, as I gave the example of the United States of America. It can be done here. It will be done here, so that we really enjoy the fruits of justice.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Just one more word, Doctor?
No, I had talked about, and actually you had talked about corruption. Remember yesterday we talked about the dangers of corruption for the future generation. I would like to appeal to the public, especially the public servants, wherever they are, to really fight this monster called corruption. If we don't do that, the future generation will judge us very harshly. If you want to eat on the job, but don't eat the job. Because if we eat the job, these children we are producing will have no jobs. And that will be disaster to this country.
Okay. I'm just hoping that you end the show with one of your famous quotes from a small book with big quotes. Just one quote for our dear viewer as we head into the new year.
We must be full-time thinkers, not part-time thinkers. Right. People who think in installments. We must be engaged in thinking every other day. And philosophically, we must diagnose society's problems and give appropriate prescriptions.
All right. Well, I mentioned a small book of big quotes. That is one of the 7 books written by Dr. Pius Bigirimana. So you should not be thinking in installments. 2025 is here. Happy New Year. Let's attack it in the best energy we can, but please do not. My father would be happy seeing me seated in court. I'm saying as a lawyer, not as someone who is going to be convicted of any sort. So I'm saying 2025 is here. Let's respect the law. Let's also keep law and order, maintain law and order, and in the same regard, look out for each other. So that we do not have this corruption moving in from place to place. My two guests, once again, have been having the Chief Justice of the Republic of Uganda, is Honorable Alfonso Winnie-Dolo, who has been with us this evening. Again, thank you very much, Honorable Chief Justice. Yes. And with him has been the Secretary to the Judiciary, the Permanent Secretary of the Judiciary, Dr. Pius Bigirimana. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
And to you, our dear viewer, next week we shall officially be in 2025. Happy New Year and good evening.
Oh, Uganda.